Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous section, we have successfully completed one of the simple block project and I hope you will like it very much. So now in this session, we'll build another project and that will be one of the social media project. So how can create one of the social media project with using that Django? In this section, I will show you that things with the live example. So for doing this, first of all, we have to create one of the project. So in our exercise folder, previously in our My Django projects folder area, I have created one of the blog project. So now for our social media project, I also have to create another project. So friend, I hope you already remember it. If you want to create any project, then in particular that folder area, I run it as a CMD. So into the CMD area, I want to create one of the project. I hope you already remember it. You have to write down as a Django and then admin, Django admin and start project. And now I want to put one of the name, my project name I want to name it as a my social underscore project. So now I want to click as a enter. So now it will be created one of the folder. You can see it's already created one of the folder as a my social project. So we successfully created our project, right? So now we don't need it. I simply close it. So that is our project. You can see it's also created the -pi and then our another folder as a social my social project and then all that our necessary file, right? So friend, we successfully created our project. So first of all, I want to take this folder. I want to take this folder to our editor. So our editor will be also needed. So that was our first project as a my blog project. So now I want to add this folder. Now click as a open folder. And into the open folder area, here you can see that is our folder. So before that was actually my blog project. Now I want to select our my social project. Click as a select folder. And here you can see it's now successfully add our project, our social media project to our this editor. So right now we don't need this. I also want to remove everything. I remove everything from here. That is our setting pi. Perfect. So here we added our project to our editor. That means our Atom editor, right? So now first of all, I want to create one of the application for our project. So we will need one of the logging application and also we'll need one of the social application, right? So first of all, I want to create one of the application for our logging panel. That means our default authentication system also will be needed. So if you want to create one of the application, what exactly you have to do? You have to write down as a Py or Python. Better I name it as a Python. Okay, Python and the -pi, Python -pi and the start app. Right, start app, and I just name it as a app underscore logging. So that will be our first application. Now click as a enter. Now you can see it's now created one of the application, that is our app logging. Right friend, I hope you already inhabited with all that our files. So now for our project, before you can see we need some of the media file, we need some of the static file, and also we need the template file, right? So now first of all, I want to create all that our essential file which will be needed for our project. So in our social media project folder here, I want to create one of the new folder and I just name it as static. So the static folder will be needed, and also will be needed our another folder as a template. Right, that will be as a templates folder, and also for our images I will need another one. So I create a new folder and I name it as a media. Perfect. And also here we have created one of the applications. So our first work in our main social file, that means the main social project, that is our settings. So here we have to install it, right? So in our install app area, first of all here, after that we have to install it. So I name it as a app underscore logging. So that will be our application I have already created, that is our app logging, right? So I register it. And after that also we have to add all that our folder, that means the static folder, template folder, media folder in our OS area, right? So if you want to do that work, it will be just like that same. I have already discussed about that things with you. I take one of the variable as a templates directory. Templates underscore directory, and then into the templates directory area with our OS path we have to add, that will be as a OS path, and then we have to join our base base directory, and into the base directory area we have to join our templates, right? That will be as a templates. So that means that is actually our folder name, that will be as a templates, right? And also after that we have to also add our static and the media. So for the static I name it as a static directory underscore directory, and then with our OS and then path, and we have to join with our base directory, and here it should be as a static, that means our static folder, right? And make that sure that is our static. So that is our static, that is our static folder. And now we have to also add our media. So that will be, I take another one as a media directory, media underscore directory, and then with our OS here, that will be our path. Our path will be join, and then here it will be as a base directory into the base directory area. Here I want to add our media, right? That will be our media. Perfect. So now we have to add our template, that means our template directory in our template area, and that means that is actually our template. So that will be our template directory, right? So here we have to add it, and also after that we have to add our media and also the static. So that is our static URL. So here, as I told you before, what exactly you have to do, right? So here after this I take it as a static files directory, right? It will be as a static files underscore directory, and then this will be our static directory, that means this static directory, right? And also after that I want to add another one for our media root. It will be as a media underscore root, and for the media root it will be our media directory, and then also we need another one as a media URL, media underscore URL, and this will be our media. That means I have already created that folder as a media, so it will be as a media. So that's all that our essential things, friend. I have already discussed about that things with you. So now we have to update it. So I updated our URL, that means the media URL and the media root, and then our static files. So that is, make the sure spelling is correct, that is static, and then files, and then static files directory will be our static directory, and then our default one is static. And then I have updated our template directory, and then also I installed our app logging, and I added all the things in our OS area. Perfect. So friend, here we will create one of the social media project, and for the social media project our app logging, that means default authentication, is very much important, one of the part, and also we will create another one for our social. So I will do the things later. First of all, I want to complete our default authentication system. So in our template, into the template area, better I want to create one of the folder, and I just name it as a app logging. I just put that same name as a app logging. Okay, so that will be everything, our authentication related every HTML file I want to save, in particular this folder. And also we will need the images, because for our social media project we will also use that images. So if you want to work with these images, I think you already remember it in our project folder, in main project folder, that is our URL, and with the URL area we have to update, right? Better I remove it. So which file is essential? First of all, I want to add everything which I have already discussed about that things with you. So right now, like here you can see there is our default one, that means our default admin path, and then there is our from Django URL input path, right? And also here I want to input another one, that means here I want to include our include method, it will be as include. So I simply added our this method as include method. And as I told you, if you want to working with the images, here also you have to add some of the settings, right? So that will be from that will be from, and then Django, from Django, then the config, that means the conif. From here we have to input the settings, right? We have to input that settings, and also from the Django, from to the Django there is a contrib. So from to the Django contrib, then there is our static files URL, static, so that will be as a static files, and from here there is another one is URLs. So from to the URLs, I want to input our static. So it should be as a static, and also static our static file URL pattern. It should be as a static files, and then underscore URL pattern. So friend, make that sure you remember that, because of all that is actually the default everything. So we have to actually use it appropriate like that way. So that will be our static files and the URL pattern. And now we have to declare it, right? So after that, I want to do, it should be as a URL. That means the URL patterns, and in our URL patterns, it should be as a plus equal, and then our static files URL. That means this static files URL we have to load, right? So now I load it, and then again our URL patterns will be our plus equal. With this plus equal, it should be as a static. So it should be as a static, and then here we have to add our settings. So with this setting, I want to use our media, and that will be our media URL, right? Here we have to add it, and then our document root we have to set. Our document underscore root. Our document root will be with our settings, and with this setting we have to add our media root. So it will be media and then our media root. I hope friend it's very much clear to you. So if you want to work with the images, so this part is very much important, right? So which I have already discussed about that things with you. So make that sure you add it. And also right now I have already created one of the application, that is our app logging application. And into the app logging application area, if you want to segment all that your authentication related URL, in particular this application area, you can also do that work, right? So for doing this here, we have to create one of the URLs. So everything is very much relevant, friend. I have already discussed about that things with you. Here I just simply added all that our essential files. So it will be as a URLs and then our file. So into the URL file, what exactly we have to do? We have to first of all from our Django, to the Django, that is our URLs, and from here we have to import as a path. I load our path, and also from our, and we have to load our these views, right? So that is in our app logging. I name it as a app underscore logging. Okay, from our app logging, I want to import our views. So that means our views file. So that is our views file, right? And here it will be for our this appropriate this application, I want to add another app name, which I have already declared. I just name it as a app underscore name, and for this one I name it as a app name will be as a app logging. Okay, it should be just the same name. So it will be as app logging, and then I want to declare our all that URL on here. That means all that our URL patterns. So I want to declare all that our URL patterns, in particular this position, right friend? So here, as I told you friend, first of all I want to complete our default authentication system. And for the default authentication system, here what exactly we did before. If you go to that Django official website, and here as I told you before, I want to use our this class as a user creation form. So with this user creation form, it's actually provided that username, password one field, and another one as a password too, right? And also here I want to add another additional field for the email. So if you want to add that another additional field, then you have to create one of the form, right? We have to create one of the custom form. So now I want to do the same things again, like in our app logging. Here I want to create another new file, and I just name it as a forms, right? Forms.py. And I just name it as a forms.py. Perfect. So here what exactly we have to do? First of all we have to load our Django default form. So friend, I have already make that same work for our blog project. So right now I want to do that things again. That will be our forms, right? So it will be import our Django default form, and then I want to use our this class. That means that is our user creation form class. So with this form class we will get some of the specific field for our sign up portion, right? So that will be in our form, and then Django, and then the contrib. So from to the contrib, then the auth, and then the forms, right? From to the forms, here you have to input our this class as a user creation form, right? And as I told you, with this user creation form, we will get our 3 of this field. So that is username, password, and the password too. And also here I want to do and to add another additional field. It should be as a email. So this email is in our user, right? In our user object area, that is another field as email. So now first of all, I also want to do and to get our this user. That means here from, that will be our from to the Django. From to the Django, and then the contrib. So from the Django contrib, and then the auth, and then from here there is a models. From the models, I want to do and to input our user class, right? That will be our user. Perfect. So now I want to do and to declare one of the custom one of the form class. So I name it as a class. So and I just name it as a create new user. Okay, it should be as a create new user on of the class, and it should be inherited our this user class, that is user creation form, right? Now I load that our user creation form. So with this form, as I told you, we will get some of the specific field, like there is, I name it as another class, or another class will be as a meta, because of all I created another class into the class area, so it should be another as a meta class, right? So into the meta class area, with this model, I want to load our user. That means our user model, and then I want to add all that our fields. So that will be all that fields. I want to load our fields name, our field name. So with our this user creation form, we'll get some of the specific field, right? We get some of the specific field that is actually that is actually our this field, that means the username, password 1 and password 2. So now I copy it. That will be as a one will be as a our username, right? Another will be as a password 1, and also another will be as a password 2. So it should be as a password, and that will be as a password 2, right? So here you can see there is a clear field name as a password 1, as a password 2. So now I load it. And also for our this sign up, I want to add another additional form. I want to add another additional form as I name it as an email. I name it as an email, and then with our forms, it should be, we have to declare our type. So that will be one of the email field type. I name it as an email field. Okay, it will be email field, and I want to make that things as a required. Okay, make that things as a required will be as a true. So I name it as a required will be as a true. Perfect. So now here also you have to pass our this field, that means our this email field. So here I want to pass that email field. So that will be our email field. That means for our create new user, that will be our all that field as email field, username field, password, and the confirm password, right friend? So we successfully created one of the custom form for our sign up page. So that will be actually fields, okay, not the field. It will be as a fields. Our field is declared as a 4 field: email, username, password, and the password 2. That is our model as a user model. So that is user model, and that is our user creation form. So that is our user creation form, and another additional field I have added as an email. Great. So that's all we have to do, and now we have to visible it, right? So better I click as a save all. So if you want to visible it, we have to work right now in our app locking and in the view, right? So better I want to continue this process in our next video. I will show you that things with a live example. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.